What if you could live each day with the focus, discipline, and honor of a samurai? In today's world, it often feels like we're drowning in distractions, work, technology, social media, constant notifications. It's easy to get swept up in the chaos, caught in the endless cycle of surviving rather than truly living. We all want to be better, to achieve more, to feel more fulfilled. But somehow we find ourselves stuck in the same routines, battling the same challenges and wondering why it feels so hard to break free. Now picture this. What if you could cut through all the noise, like a samurai with a sharpened blade, and live each day with a clear sense of purpose, unshaken by distractions? What if you could adopt the mindset of a warrior, one who is focused, disciplined, and unflinchingly dedicated to their mission? The wisdom of the samurai isn't just about swordsmanship or ancient battles. It's about mastering your mind, cultivating inner strength, and living with honor. The samurai were masters of focus, discipline, and resilience, qualities that seem almost impossible to achieve in our fast-paced world. But the truth is, we can embody these same principles today. We can bring samurai-level discipline into our personal and professional lives and transform our approach to challenges, relationships, and success. This book, How to Be a Modern Samurai by Antony Cummins, takes the ancient wisdom of the samurai and adapts it for the modern world. It's a blueprint for reclaiming control over your life, sharpening your focus, and living with the strength and clarity of a warrior. It's about breaking free from the noise and finding a path that is uniquely yours, a path of purpose, power, and peace. The time to make a change is now. Stop drifting through life on autopilot. Step into your power. Adopt the mindset of a samurai and watch as you transform every part of your life, your focus, your discipline, your relationships, your future. Welcome to Book Play, where we turn powerful books into powerful life changes. Meet Oliver. He's 26, living in a small apartment in a busy neighborhood in Chicago. He has a decent job as a digital marketing associate at a growing startup. On paper, it's a good job, one he's lucky to have. He's got a steady paycheck, a group of friends he spends weekends with, and his life looks like it's on the right track. But if you look closer, you'll see something different. Oliver feels like he's stuck in a never-ending loop. Every day feels like a blur of routine and autopilot. He wakes up to the same alarm, checks his phone to see messages he doesn't really care about, and rushes to work. The commute is always crowded, and when he finally reaches his desk, he can't shake the feeling that his days are slipping by without purpose. He spends most of his time responding to emails, editing social media posts, and attending meetings that never seem to lead anywhere meaningful. It's not that he dislikes his job, it's just that it feels like a never-ending grind. He doesn't feel challenged anymore. The excitement he once had for his work has faded, replaced by a sense of dread. Each day it's harder to get out of bed, harder to focus, harder to care. The dreams he once had of starting his own business, traveling the world, or making a real difference seem further and further out of reach. Oliver keeps telling himself, "I'll figure it out. I just need to get through this week, and then maybe I'll start thinking about my future." But deep down, he knows that's a lie. The fear of staying stuck, the fear of waking up 5 years from now, still in the same place, still in the same rut, is starting to haunt him. He's terrified that he'll never have the courage to change, that he'll keep living like this, passively watching life go by. He's been putting off the important stuff for too long. He knows it, and it's starting to eat away at him. His evenings aren't any better. After work, Oliver goes home to his small apartment and spends hours scrolling through social media. He watches people traveling, starting businesses, living vibrant, exciting lives. And while he's happy for them, he can't help but feel this gnawing emptiness. Why not me? Why am I still here, stuck in this same loop? He reads articles, watches motivational videos, listens to podcasts, anything to get that quick fix of inspiration. But nothing sticks. He feels like he's just consuming content without actually changing anything in his life. One evening, after a particularly frustrating day at work where a big project falls through at the last minute, Oliver decides to take a walk. He doesn't know why. He just feels suffocated. He steps out into the cool night air, hoping it will clear his mind. His thoughts are racing, worries about his job, his future, his lack of progress. He feels overwhelmed by it all. As he walks down a side street, he notices a small, dusty bookstore tucked away between two trendy cafes. He's never seen it before, but something about it feels inviting. He steps inside on a whim, desperate for something to distract him. The smell of old paper and the quiet hum of a forgotten world feels strangely comforting. Then he sees it. A book on the shelf, its bold title catching his eye. How to be a Modern Samurai. At first he laughs to himself. A samurai? Really? What's that got to do with me? He picks it up, flips through a few pages, and wonders what on earth would have made him pick this out of all the books in the store. But something about it sticks with him. Maybe it's the word modern. Maybe it's the strange idea of blending something so ancient with the present. Whatever it is, he decides to buy it on a whim, thinking, maybe it'll give me something to think about. When he gets home that night, he starts reading. And from the very first page, it's like a switch flips inside him. The book isn't about ancient warriors in armor. It's about mastering your mind, living with purpose, and achieving greatness in today's world. The more he reads, the more he feels like the samurai mindset is exactly what he's been missing. It's not just about fighting battles. It's about mastering yourself, having a clear vision of what you want, and staying disciplined enough to make it happen. It's about cutting through the distractions of life and focusing on what really matters. For the first time in a long time, Oliver feels a sense of clarity. The samurai lived with honor, courage, and wisdom, and they didn't waste time waiting for the perfect opportunity to make a change. They took action with what they had, where they were. He realizes that's what he's been missing. He's been waiting for the perfect moment, but the truth is there is no perfect moment. If he's going to change, he has to start now. By the time Oliver finishes the book, he's no longer that frustrated guy stuck in a routine. He's energized, focused, and clear on his next steps. He doesn't have it all figured out yet, but for the first time in a long time, he's ready to face the future head on. He knows change won't happen overnight, but the first step is the hardest, and he's already taken it. That night, as he lies in bed, he thinks about the future not with fear or dread, but with excitement. The journey has just begun. The rest of his life, it's in his hands. How to be a Modern Samurai by Antony Cummins isn't just another self-help book that promises quick fixes or superficial advice. It's a powerful guide to transforming your mindset and your life by learning from the ancient principles of the samurai. And while you might think, what could an ancient warrior from feudal Japan possibly teach me about living in today's fast-paced world? This book challenges that very notion. The truth is, the samurai were much more than warriors. They were men of honor, discipline, and purpose. They lived with an unwavering commitment to excellence in all aspects of their lives. From mastering their craft to controlling their emotions, the samurai didn't just fight battles on the battlefield. They fought the internal battles that so many of us face today. They were disciplined in their thoughts, actions, and decisions. They had clarity about their purpose and lived by a code that guided them through even the most challenging times. And that's exactly what How to Be a Modern Samurai does. It takes these ancient principles and applies them to the realities of today's world. In a world where distractions are constant, where we're bombarded with notifications, social media, and the endless pressures to succeed, it's easy to feel lost. We often find ourselves on autopilot, moving through life without true purpose or direction. We tell ourselves, I'll get serious about my goals tomorrow. I'll make that change someday. But the truth is, someday never comes unless we choose to make it happen now. That's where this book comes in. Antony Cummins doesn't just teach you about the samurai's way of life, he shows you how to integrate those principles into your daily routine, your work, and your relationships. The samurai's philosophy is timeless. It's about taking responsibility for your actions, mastering your emotions, being deliberate with your decisions, and pursuing growth every single day. This book isn't about learning how to wield a sword. It's about learning how to wield your own mind and actions with the precision and focus of a true warrior. How to be a modern samurai teaches you how to be intentional with your time and energy. It challenges you to stop waiting for the perfect moment to make a change and instead take action now, no matter how small. It shows you how to build mental and emotional resilience so you can face the challenges of life with strength and grace. Most importantly, it teaches you to embrace the warrior's mindset, facing fear, overcoming self-doubt, and relentlessly pursuing your goals with clarity and purpose. The reason this book has made such an impact on so many people is that it doesn't just offer advice, it offers a transformation. It's a blueprint for living with integrity, confidence, and the courage to take on life's toughest battles. Whether you're in your 20s trying to figure out your purpose like Oliver, or in your 40s feeling burnt out and stuck in a rut, this book provides practical wisdom that can help you turn your life around. For Oliver, it was the catalyst he needed to wake up from his complacency and begin the journey to reclaim his purpose. And if you're feeling stuck in a similar way, waiting for something to change or wishing for something to spark a shift in your life, this book might just be what you've been searching for. It's time to stop drifting. It's time to take control. And How to Be a Modern Samurai will show you how to do that, starting today. Now, let's get into the core principles that will help you channel your inner samurai and transform your life. These 5 takeaways from How to Be a Modern Samurai will give you the tools you need to stop being passive, start being proactive, and take control of your destiny. Takeaway number 1, master the power of focus. One of the greatest strengths of the samurai wasn't their swordsmanship or combat skills, it was their ability to focus. The samurai didn't have the luxury of distractions. When they were on the battlefield, their entire being was dedicated to one thing, surviving and achieving their goal. They weren't thinking about what they'd have for dinner later or whether they'd post on social media. Every ounce of their attention went into the task at hand. In our world, distractions are everywhere. It's no surprise that many of us struggle with focus. In fact, studies show that the average person's attention span is shorter than that of a goldfish, thanks to our constant bombardment of emails, texts, and notifications. And it's not just technology that distracts us. There are the distractions of fear, doubt, and procrastination. We tell ourselves we'll focus, but before we know it, we're scrolling through our phones, making excuses, and wasting hours of our time. This was exactly Oliver's struggle. His mind was scattered, constantly jumping from one thing to another. He'd start working on a task, but before long, he'd get distracted by a notification or a random thought. He found it hard to get into a flow state, and as a result, his productivity plummeted. His to-do list grew longer, and he started feeling more overwhelmed, unsure of how to get himself back on track. The samurai understood the value of focus. They would train for years, dedicating themselves fully to their craft, whether that be martial arts, swordsmanship, or strategy. They didn't try to multitask. They gave their undivided attention to what was in front of them. Oliver's turning point came when he realized that he wasn't going to accomplish anything meaningful unless he learned how to focus. So he began practicing. He put his phone on airplane mode, closed out distractions, and set clear boundaries for his work time. And while it wasn't easy at first, old habits die hard, he found that the more he intentionally focused, the easier it became to stay on task. The real power of focus is that it allows you to give your best effort to whatever you're working on, whether it's a project, a relationship, or a personal goal. When you focus on one thing at a time, you deepen your commitment to it. But focus isn't just about productivity, it's about living with intention. Every time you choose to focus, you're saying, I value this moment. I'm committed to this task and I'm going to give it my all. Whether it's a difficult conversation or a big work project, your ability to zero in on what matters and ignore everything else is a game changer. Oliver began to feel more in control of his time. He no longer found himself overwhelmed or constantly behind on his to-do list. His work quality improved. He felt a sense of accomplishment at the end of each day. But more than anything, he felt like he was moving towards something. His future, his goals, his dreams. Every single day his focus was like the sharp edge of a sword, cutting through the distractions that had once held him back. Takeaway number 2. Develop emotional discipline. Samurai didn't just fight physical battles, they fought the battle within. They understood that emotions could either empower or destroy them. The battlefield was not just a place for swords, it was also a place for the mind. The samurai knew that if they couldn't control their emotions, their impulses, and their thoughts, they would be defeated before they even faced the enemy. For most people today, emotions are powerful forces. Fear, frustration, anger, and self-doubt creep in and control our decisions. We've all had moments where our emotions got the best of us. Maybe it's snapping at a loved one after a tough day at work, or making a rash decision driven by anxiety. Emotions are often our immediate response to circumstances, but without discipline, they can take the wheel and steer us off course. Oliver had struggled with emotional volatility for years. When things didn't go according to plan at work, he'd get upset, overwhelmed, and frustrated. His stress would spill over into his personal life, affecting his relationships and his overall mood. He didn't know how to regulate these emotions, and as a result, they often dictated his behavior. This emotional turbulence kept him stuck in a cycle of inaction. He was always reacting to his feelings rather than taking control of them. The samurai, however, had a different mindset. They understood that emotions weren't something to be ignored or repressed. They were something to be understood and mastered. By developing emotional discipline, they could harness their feelings rather than let them control their actions. They learned how to act from a place of calm, not chaos. When facing overwhelming odds or intense pressure, the samurai would breathe deeply, center themselves, and remain clear-headed in their decisions. They practiced mindfulness, meditation, and intense focus, and they learned to act without being ruled by fear, doubt, or anger. When Oliver first read about this in the book, it struck him. He realized that his emotional outbursts were not just a reaction to external situations, they were a reflection of his inner turmoil. The more he let these emotions take charge, the less in control of his life he felt. So he decided to start small. He began practicing emotional regulation techniques. When he felt anger or frustration building up, he would pause and take a few deep breaths. He'd step away from the situation for a moment, letting himself process his feelings without reacting. Over time, this small practice had a massive impact. Oliver found that when he could control his emotional state, he felt more composed, more confident, and more in control of his decisions. Emotional discipline isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about giving yourself the space to respond with intention. Instead of reacting impulsively to a setback or disappointment, the samurai taught Oliver to take a moment, breathe, and then decide how he would respond. That pause made all the difference. Imagine what your life could look like if you started mastering your emotional responses instead of letting them run wild. What would it feel like to face every challenge with calm, clarity, and the discipline to act in alignment with your higher self? Oliver realized that developing emotional discipline didn't just make him more effective, it made him feel more grounded. It allowed him to respond to life's ups and downs without losing his center. And just like the samurai, he began to understand that true strength comes not from fighting the world around you, but from mastering the world within you. Takeaway number 3, build mental resilience. In the world of the samurai, adversity wasn't just expected. It was a certainty. They lived in a time of war, conflict and uncertainty, where survival was a daily challenge. But the samurai didn't just endure hardships, they thrived in them. One of the most powerful lessons we can take from them today is how to build mental resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, face adversity with courage, and keep moving forward no matter how difficult the journey becomes. The truth is, life is tough. It throws challenges at us in ways we never expect. Layoffs, relationships falling apart, health problems, financial stress, or emotional burnout. In these moments, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart, that we're not strong enough to handle it. This is where mental resilience becomes crucial. Resilience doesn't mean avoiding pain or pretending that everything is okay. It means choosing to rise after every fall, learning from your failures, and continuing the journey despite the obstacles. For Oliver, this lesson hit home during a particularly tough period in his life. After a major setback at work, he found himself feeling defeated. It wasn't just about the disappointment of the situation. It was the crushing feeling of how much it affected his mental and emotional state. For days he couldn't focus, felt like he wasn't good enough, and fell into the trap of self-doubt. It was as if the weight of failure had completely overwhelmed him. However, reading How to Be a Modern Samurai helped Oliver realize that resilience isn't about bouncing back to where you were before the setback. It's about using those moments of hardship to grow, to adapt, and to come back even stronger. The samurai didn't see adversity as a roadblock. They saw it as an opportunity to sharpen their skills, to evolve. They took the blows of life and turned them into lessons for their future battles. Inspired by the samurai mindset, Oliver began shifting his perspective on failure. Instead of letting it define him, he started reframing it as an opportunity to learn. He asked himself, what can I take from this? How can I use this to become better? He adopted a new approach to mental resilience. When things went wrong, instead of spiraling into frustration, he would focus on what he could control and take small, deliberate actions toward improvement. Building mental resilience is about developing a mindset where setbacks don't feel like the end of the world, but just part of the journey. It's about strengthening your ability to adapt, learn and grow no matter what challenges life throws your way. The next time you face an obstacle, ask yourself, how can I use this to become stronger? And then take the action you need to get back on track. Takeaway number 4, live with integrity. Integrity is the cornerstone of the samurai's code of honor. For the samurai, integrity wasn't just about being honest. It was about living in alignment with one's values and principles, no matter the cost. They didn't waver in their commitments, and their word was their bond. In today's world, where shortcuts, dishonesty, and compromises are often seen as justifiable means to an end, the concept of living with integrity can seem old-fashioned or even impractical. But as the samurai knew, integrity is what makes a person truly strong. In the modern world, we're constantly confronted with decisions that test our integrity. From small lies to major ethical dilemmas, we're asked every day whether we will act in line with our values or take the easier, more convenient route. In our fast-paced, competitive world, living with integrity can sometimes feel like a burden, but in reality, it's the foundation that allows us to build trust, respect, and true confidence, both within ourselves and with others. Oliver had always been a people pleaser, someone who often compromised his values just to avoid conflict. He'd say yes to projects he didn't want to take on, avoid tough conversations because they made him uncomfortable, and let people walk all over him just to keep the peace. But as his journey progressed, he began to realize that this lack of integrity was draining him. He was constantly exhausted and felt like he was betraying himself. He wasn't living authentically, The turning point came when he read about how the samurai lived by their own code of honor, no matter the external pressures. They didn't care about how others viewed them. They cared about staying true to themselves, no matter the consequences. This deeply resonated with Oliver. He began asking himself, am I living with integrity? Am I being true to my own values? Oliver started making small but powerful changes. He set clear boundaries at work, learned to say no without feeling guilty, and started engaging in conversations that he had been avoiding. The more he lived in alignment with his values, the more he felt empowered. His relationships improved as people began to respect him more for his honesty and authenticity. Most importantly, he felt proud of the person he was becoming. Living with integrity means not compromising on what you know is right. It's about making choices that reflect your true self, even when it's hard. It's about honoring your word and staying true to your values. Even when it might cost you something in the short term, the samurai didn't live to please others. They lived to honor themselves and their code. And when you do the same, you'll feel a sense of peace and strength that's hard to find anywhere else. Takeaway number 5. Take decisive action. The samurai were known for their swift, decisive action. When the time came to act, they didn't hesitate. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They trusted in their training, their skills, and their ability to handle whatever came their way. Their philosophy was simple: act now and trust yourself. In our fast-moving, uncertain world, one of the biggest challenges we face is indecision. We spend so much time analyzing, overthinking, and waiting for the right moment to make a move. We fear failure, rejection, and making the wrong choice. But as the samurai understood, hesitation is often the greatest obstacle to success. When you hesitate, you lose momentum. You miss opportunities. And worst of all, you remain stuck in the same place, waiting for the ideal conditions that might never come. Oliver had always struggled with indecision. He'd put off making big decisions in his life because he was afraid of making the wrong choice. He'd overthink every little detail and convince himself that he needed more information, more time, more clarity. But the more he delayed action, the more he felt paralyzed by fear. Then, reading How to Be a Modern Samurai, Oliver learned the power of decisive action. He realized that waiting for the perfect moment wasn't helping him move forward. It was keeping him stuck. The samurai acted swiftly, even in the face of uncertainty. They didn't have all the answers, but they trusted in their preparation and instincts. Inspired by this, Oliver began to take more decisive action in his life. He started making decisions more quickly, trusting his gut, and moving forward with confidence, even when things weren't perfect. And here's the amazing thing. The more decisive he became, the more clarity he gained. Every action, whether big or small, moved him forward, and even when things didn't go as planned, he learned from them and adjusted. Decisive action doesn't mean acting recklessly. It means making a choice and committing to it. It's about stopping the endless cycle of overthinking and trusting yourself to take the next step. The samurai didn't wait for perfection. They took action in the face of uncertainty and learned along the way. Reflection. Think about an area of your life where you've been hesitant to act. What's one small step you can take today to move forward? Let's return to Oliver. Just a few months ago, he was struggling. Overwhelmed by distractions, weighed down by emotional instability, and unable to find a clear direction in life. Every step forward seemed like an uphill battle. But now, Oliver is a different person. He's taken the principles of the samurai to heart and applied them in his own life. After embracing the art of focus, he has reclaimed his time. He no longer feels enslaved by the constant ping of notifications or the mounting pressure of endless tasks. Instead, he approaches each day with clarity and purpose, tackling one thing at a time and doing it with unwavering dedication. The distractions that once ruled his life are now mere background noise, while his goals take center stage. But perhaps the most profound change in Oliver is the way he now handles adversity. Remember the emotional turbulence he used to face? He no longer lets it control him. Instead of succumbing to the weight of every setback, he's developed the mental resilience to rise up and keep moving forward. He's not perfect, of course, and there are still days where the weight of life feels heavy. But now Oliver knows that failure isn't the end of the road. It's just another opportunity to learn and grow stronger. Where there was once indecision, there's now a sense of confidence and action. He's learned to make decisions without agonizing over every little detail. He's not waiting for the perfect moment anymore because he knows that nothing is ever perfect. He's taking action, trusting himself, and learning from each step along the way. Oliver is no longer standing still, waiting for life to change. He's actively shaping his own destiny. And then there's integrity, the foundation of his character. Oliver is no longer just going through the motions or trying to please everyone. He's living authentically, aligned with his values and principles. His relationships have deepened, his self-respect has grown, and he feels a sense of peace that he never thought possible. He is proud of the man he is becoming, and that pride is not built on the approval of others, but on his own unwavering commitment to living with honor. So what about you? Are you ready to step into your own life as a modern-day samurai? Are you willing to let go of distractions, embrace mental resilience, act decisively, and live with integrity? The principles in how to be a modern samurai aren't just for warriors from another era. They're for anyone who wants to live with purpose, strength, and honor in the modern world. The truth is, the time to start is now. There's no magic moment waiting for you. You won't wake up one day and feel ready. The secret to becoming the person you want to be is taking action right now. Every small choice you make today builds the foundation for the future you desire. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen step by step. Just like Oliver, you can overcome the obstacles holding you back. You can develop the focus, resilience, and integrity that will help you not only survive, but thrive in the world we live in today. It's not easy, but nothing worth having ever is. So start today. Take that first step and continue moving forward. The warrior's journey is one of constant growth, constant learning, and constant striving to be better than you were yesterday. Remember, change starts now. Don't wait. Embrace the warrior within you and start building your path to greatness. As we come to the end of today's journey through the lessons of the samurai, take a moment to reflect on what you've just heard. What resonated most with you? What's one thing you can start applying to your own life right now? Because here's the thing, real change happens when you take action. It's not enough to just listen to the stories or learn the lessons. To transform, you've got to live them. So after this episode, ask yourself, how will you be different tomorrow because of what you've learned today? If you're ready to start your own journey toward becoming a modern-day samurai, take a step. Focus on one small area of your life where you can apply the principles we discussed. Maybe it's committing to greater focus, embracing emotional discipline, or acting decisively when life demands it. Whatever it is, start with that first action and let it build momentum. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Bookplay for more life-changing lessons from powerful self-help books. We're here to help you take the insights you hear and turn them into real, lasting transformation. And hey, if you know someone who could benefit from these messages of inspiration, share this episode with them. Because just like Oliver's story, the more we spread powerful ideas, the more lives we can change. And if you're ready to dive even deeper into personal growth, leave a review and let us know how Bookplay has impacted your life so far. The road to greatness isn't easy, but it's a journey worth